Sunday.
Oh, nice way to start, Bombos.
Hey guys,
Hello.
this has been the show. Andy's been talking for the last 3 weeks.
I know it's been driving Bombos crazy. And
Like, what makes you say that?
because every time I say it, you always make a grimace on your face. Like, again? Do I have to hear the same story again? You know, that's
so your assumption.
yeah, I
is,
make a total assumption. Hey, I'm
great.
owning it, you know. You can't change your face, but I can certainly change my
And I
attitude.
definitely don't want to change my face. I'm keeping this face.
I'll give you a few pounds. So Juan Mann is for me, he was a massive inspiration 15 or so it would be 15 years ago when I first saw his video, and not because of the video per se, but because what he was doing. And of course, sometimes in life we strike a moment, and this is the moment when his efforts were then recognized in the video. We'll watch a bit later. But we have Juan Mann on for the hour, and Juan Mann began the Free Hugs campaign, which is now seen around the world, and we'll have him on
A Wonderful Chaos.
So the humor is, when we were just off air, Bumbo says to me, when you say one, it sounds like you're saying one.
One man.
And the whole week, whenever I said, yeah, Juan Mann is on, I would have said it probably similar to the one man. My wife would always say to me, like, one man show? Like, what are you talking about here? One man? What do you mean one man? And we had this very funny week of, no, baby, Juan Mann, you know? She doesn't tease me that much, but this week she got her fill.
I like that.
Yes. And so the thing that's really cool is that before we even had the term viral videos, because that term only came into being because we saw these moments in time when there were these things that touched people on such a deep level that they just spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And now viral videos are just something that everyone's saying, how do I create the next one? And if there's anything they're trying to recreate, they're recreating what Juan did. I hope I'm saying the name well. Juan. What Juan did. And what Juan did was he actually lived his true self, and he waited for the world to catch up with him. So it's so funny now when we talk about people doing things in the world, if it doesn't come from a really authentic place, it often doesn't go anywhere because people see through it really quickly. And what I was astonished by, because I went to Sydney University, so I lived in Australia for a year and a half. I worked on a sheep and cattle station. Like, Australia is the last place on the earth that I would say, let's do a Free Hugs campaign. Right? I mean, it would be, if I had to say, what are the areas in the world that they're not going to embrace two men hugging each other, then that would be close to like the place outside of somewhere like Saudi Arabia, where obviously I'm talking like that was. And so I was seeing this, obviously the Sick Puppy's music to his actual story was really it only like added that whole life to the story he was living. But the thing is that there's people like Juan in the world that are living their truth. No one sees them. No one recognizes them. And they're actually, for me, they are the heroes of the world, the unseen heroes. And he is also a hero. And yet he now almost represents an unsung hero that never is seen, because he didn't go on the damn Pitt Street, I think that was the name, in Sydney, holding this sign thinking, I hope this gets big. I don't think anyone that made anything big thought, I hope this gets big. I think I'm going to live this and see where it goes. And that's the thing in life which I aspire to in myself. I even see when I did this tour through the U.S. and asked people to write letters to loved ones, an inkling in me wanted it to go big. Like, it's this, oh my God. Like, I remember I wanted to get on the Day Show in California or in New York. I'm like, if I don't make that, I had this weird fucked up feeling like it wouldn't have been worth it. Like, where did that feeling come from? You know, and for what I saw with Juan's work and why I was so excited to get him on is because he is just an incredible inspiration. And I also realized how old I was, because as I talked to younger people about it, a lot of people didn't even know about it, which freaked me out because I thought, I'm getting old. Because if I talk about something that for me was so obviously relevant, then how the hell can that be the case? So I'd love to show the video for those that haven't seen it. And even if you have, I think I've watched it 100 times over.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Juan, he's probably seen it like out of the 87 million times it's been viewed, he's probably seen it or heard it a million times. So we will play it and then we'll bring Juan directly on to discuss it. So this is the video that I have to see. I must move the screen now so it doesn't quite do what I did before. So here we go.
I don't mind where you come from, as long as you come to me. But I don't like illusions, I can't see them clearly. I don't care, no, I wouldn't dare to fix the twist in you. You've shown me eventually what you'll do. I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your scar out in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's all the same. Hours slide and days go by till you decide to come. However long you stay is all that I am. I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your heart in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's always the same. Go ahead, say it, you're leaving. You'll just come back running, holding your scar out in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's all the same.
I could watch that video like 100 times over. Like it's kind of disgusting how much I can watch that video. We're gonna bring him on. There he is in the flesh, Juan Mann. Hey.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. By the way, my mic seems to be off, so I'm gonna have to bring Bombos over to me. So I have to tell you, I now have tears in my eyes, not because of the video, because I was watching your face while I was watching the video, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've had in my life. You were looking at that experience from that some beautiful place that I can only imagine is just gratitude. And I saw it, and I'm like, my eyes are tearing now. Wow.
Yeah, it never gets old. It never ever gets old at all. I can watch that every day. It's beautiful. There's me in it and all, but just seeing all that happen is just nice. Like, it's just nice that it's there. But I'm lucky because I remember all of that, and I remember going through all of that, and I remember most all of those people in that video, and it's a bit of my life, and it's just beautiful to watch. And yeah, there's a tear in my eye as well. So and
Yeah.
that happens all the time. It never gets old. It never gets old.
I mean, it's freaky to think this is 15 years later. So that even when I wrote to you, because it was COVID and I'm thinking, no touch, who do I want to talk to? I want to talk to the guy that's completely anatomically opposed to this moment in time. And
Yeah.
And have a lot of people reached out to you?
I've read that there are a lot of people still in the States who are going out offering free hugs, but around the rest of the world, everyone else is kind of wondering how they kind of find a replacement for that, or how they find that mechanism of comfort and connection, I guess, when we're now so forcibly disconnected, not by choice, but by circumstance. It's more glaringly obvious now than it ever has been before. So it's
I don't
kind of
know.
hard.
Have you seen the videos? I've been watching a lot of the protesting in America at the moment because obviously it's so prevalent. I don't know if you've been seeing the videos, but there are a lot of protesters that are going out with the free hugs shirts and signs. Have you been seeing that?
I have been.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it does say free on it, so that always did mean everyone was free to use that. It's just another tool for people to use to kind of connect with each other or do what they see fit with.
I know, but by the way, don't go Australian on me right now, please. No, I need to get no. I want. There's a damn riot going on, and in the middle of a riot, you inspired somebody to hold a sign up which says "free hug." How does that feel? That's the question.
They are brave individuals. They are very brave. I don't think I'd do that. That's out of my ballpark. I'm impressed. It's amazing that that's the response to a riot in America. Is don't forget there's still hope. Like that's what I see when I see that. There are people that still believe there is hope for us all, and that we're still human, and that we're still together. There's still a mechanism there for us to be together and not be apart or alone or disenfranchised in a way.
I do want to hold on one more point and say you created that in the world.
Oh, many people had tried in the past, but they didn't kind of get a lady who poured out her heart and soul and then made me swear a binding promise until eternity that I would never give up. There was a little bit of a different motivation behind everyone else in the past before I came along. So,
yeah, I at least wanted to embrace that part of you that may be hard for you to embrace, because I have it. It's hard for me to embrace in myself, of course, or not of course, but it is. And I just see that if we're the pebble in the water that we drop and then that pebble actually just goes out into the world, it's beautiful to see where your pebble has landed. And that's just, I wanted to cherish that for this moment.
It is. It really is amazing. I've just seen what has happened from what really was just another thing on a list of acts of kindness that I was going to keep doing and keep progressing through. That was Free Hugs was supposed to be 1 hour of one day, and that was it. And then it was next on the list, and 15 minutes passed with nothing happening, so it was 45 minutes left. And the first one who hugged me told me this story about, story's the wrong word, she told me about her life and how her daughters, who would have been my age, had died a year ago that day in a car accident, and her daughter's dog had died that morning, and she had specifically come into the city to look for some sign that there was some hope in the world for her, because she'd lost these most significant things in her life. And she found me, and I had no idea what I was doing there. I was most definitely not prepared for that. And she just hugged me and then told me that it was crap and do it again. I did.
Wow.
And afterwards, she held me by the forearms. She said, no matter what, you have to realize there is always going to be someone who needs this. You can't give up. You can't stop. And I just stood there pretty much crapping my pants, thinking, well, I was only going to be here for another 40 minutes. And then I just looked at her and went, all right, I'll keep going until I'm dead or I find someone better. And she seemed satisfied with that answer and she left. And I kind of thought, oh crap, I did say that out loud, didn't I? Well, I gotta keep that. And so I came back the next week and the next and the next and the next. And 15 years in 1 hour is very, very, very long. It'll actually be 16 years next week.
Wow.
But it's been a long hour. It's been a very long hour.
You know, 15 years ago, what you were doing was unheard of. So it's like when we look at generational shifts, like right now, it would be considered normal or more normal, let's put it that way, to hug someone in this public realm and hold a sign up. And what I don't know if people really get is men's clubs didn't exist 15 years ago. Men's work as a kind of idea, it was zero existence. So you go on the street when there's nobody in the world that's thinking that it's okay for a man to be vulnerable in this sort of more feminine, what one might project on as a feminine being. And then embodying that in the middle of Australia. And as you heard me earlier speak, I can't imagine a place less that I'd want to do that. You know?
Andy, I'm from Bankstown. That's even worse, you know. I'm from the worst part of Sydney. How the hell did I end up there? I sometimes sit back and be like,
it does per capita have the largest gay population.
Sydney.
Yeah, that's what I learned when I was there. So that's the one thing I learned at Sydney Uni.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So if we go back to the 15 years ago and like sort of feel into, you know, you decided, you know, I'm next to Bombos. And Bombos is a similar character to you in a respect in my life. So he'll on any given day say, I'm going to experiment with something random that I don't know what it does or how it's going to serve me, but I just want to learn what I'll learn from that experience. And what was the thing? And what was the thing 15 years ago that caused you to say, I'm going to randomly go on this shopping mall and hold a sign and invite people to hug me? What was the thing that spurred that for you?
Someone had done it for me. I'd kind of returned back to Australia by choice. Sydney was where I chose to set up home, I guess. And for about 6 months, I kind of just lived in a garage in the Blue Mountains and through the winter on an air mattress. So it was pretty crap. Life was going nowhere. I had no idea what I was doing. Everything was just woeful and miserable. And a couple of old friends from high school, I got in touch with them and they dragged me to this party and I had nothing to say. I had no reason to be there. It was the most awkward thing I had been through. And I just retreated further and further into the darkest corner of the room and wasn't paying attention. And this person just came up and wrapped their arms around me, lifted shrugged around a little so that I'd hug them. And for those few moments, everything felt like it was going to be okay. You know, I'd be able to get through it all. I wasn't alone anymore. I had enough in me to be able to get through. And then I noticed she just disappeared. She looked at me as she separated, looked at my face and just smiled a little bit, nodded, and then walked off. And that was it. And I thought for a couple of weeks afterwards, how would I do that for someone else? Just as a random act of kindness. And I'm like, well, you can't just go up and hug somebody. I'm 6'4". I had long hair. It didn't matter how outrageously I dressed. I was probably going to get in a lot of trouble for that. That's not kindness. That's assault. So I kind of figured out how would I be able to do that for someone else, because it did make me feel like I could handle what was coming next in life. And I made a sign. It was really weird looking in comparison to every other one I made. And off I went.
Wow. And I mean, and you say at the first, it was really like, this is an hour-long experiment. You didn't think it would be more than that.
Not in the slightest. It was just sort of paying forward, I guess, the hug that I got to hopefully someone who really needed it, and it would do the same for them as it did for me. Well, it's been a long hour.
Wow. That's beautiful. I mean, we had a discussion. We had someone on the show on Friday who basically a friend's husband gave her 7 bags of yarn, big bags of yarn. And she didn't intend to do anything more than have people knit that yarn for clothes for the homeless. And now she has this massive production company going on right now, which is serving homeless around the world. But it started with 7 bags of yarn.
It always just starts with something little, you know. It doesn't take much.
Yeah, that's the thing I've talked a lot about. Is that, like, I always think it's strange to have massive plans, because I think there's so many things that interrupt it in the meantime, that I like intentions. Like an intention sets a direction, but it doesn't necessarily confine me in any regard.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I just kept showing up.
That's
Other
incredible.
people showed up and asked what it was like to hold the sign, and I'm like, well, I can't tell you really. Take it, go stand over there, and I'll be over here in case you need me.
Yeah. You mentioned the woman. You mentioned the woman that that shared her deep story of her daughter's death, and then the dog. What stories would you say of people where you say, wow, if I wasn't here, I don't know what this person may have done? Like, are there feelings like, wow, this person needed this in a way that this is almost critical?
Yes, very much so. It would have been the 3rd week. Yeah, it was the 3rd week. A guy came up to me. He had this scar across his face. I can't ever forget him. He was still wearing the tracksuit that prisoners wear. He'd just been released from prison after 17 years. And he had climbed to the top of one of the buildings and was going to jump that day. First day of freedom, that was his intention. Just, he had no good to give to the world, so he thought there was no place for him in it. And as he stood up there, he watched me, because I was the only one there at that point in time. And he watched the way people reacted to me, and he said he stayed up there for about half an hour, and he decided to come down and just talk to me. And he told me everything he'd done. And I just kind of looked at him and I shrugged and I said, doesn't mean what you do tomorrow is any different unless you make it different. It's your choice now. I can give you a hug, but I don't have any other advice for you. I'm 22. And then he just kind of said, after all those years in prison, you can respect that I may not want the hug. Do you do handshakes? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Handshakes will do. And yeah, he shook my hand and he disappeared. And then the next year, same time, there he is standing at the edge of a crowd, but he's dressed a bit better. Following year, same area. He's standing around waiting for me to make eye contact with him, dressed a bit better. We make eye contact, he smiles and waves, and then he walks off. The following year, dressed even better, and he's got people with him that are dressed worse than he is. And he points at me, he points at them, and he says, go over there and hug that man. That'll make a difference. And he just waves at me. But his life's changed.
Yeah.
He thought he was worth nothing. And now he's making some positive difference. I don't know his name. I don't know what he does. I know nothing about the guy. But he made a choice.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, I was just there, you know. That's the big thing. I'm just present and available. And I think that's a very powerful thing for anyone who holds a free hug sign and experiences that across the planet. Just being available for people, just for the moment, just just so they can vent or express something that, you know, they don't want to dial a hotline, or they don't have anyone to lean on, or they don't have any other recourse for just that moment of expression, whatever it may be. I don't know. Free hug people just seem to fill a void or a purpose for something.
Yeah, I've often, you know, I have a book comes out soon in the end of August, which is just The Wounded Healer, and the whole idea, the whole kind of discovery, is that at some point in your life, just shutting up and being present for somebody in their pain is enough.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Yeah, and I think it took me a long time to realize that, you know.
Yeah. Well, it was never about me when I first went out to offer the first hour of free hugs. I mean, I had the name Juan Mann prepared for that day, so that if anyone asked who I was, it wasn't a matter of who I was. I'm not important about this. It's what I'm doing here.
Sure.
That's the important thing. And I've kept it that way because that's the important thing. It's not me. It's the idea. It's much more important than anything I say or do.
Yeah.
Free of me is the most important thing for free hugs.
Yeah. I mean, that is the idea, right? If you need the hug, when you're giving it, then in some ways you're not holding the almost present for the other person. I mean, we always need a hug, but to some degree, the selflessness of the act, there's a beauty in that at least I found in my own life now.
There is. There's something very different about it compared to, you know, hugging someone you know, or sort of know, or barely know.
Yeah.
There's something very different.
So this is 15 years ago, and I'm always curious because, you know, like, who knows who the hell you are now compared to the 15 year ago version of yourself. So from that point to now, would you say that, like, you're kind of over the free hug thing, or would you say, no, actually it has a place, but it's different than it used to be? Like, how has it evolved in your life now?
It has a place, but it's different where it used to be. I kept my promise. That lady came back 7 years later and found me, and she just looked at me after I hugged her and she said, "You don't remember who I am?" I'm like, "No, I don't remember anyone. How am I supposed to remember people? Jesus, there's so many." And she's like, "Of all the people, you don't remember me, the old lady." I'm like, "Well, you were. I was 22." And she's like, "I've gotten such shit from my friends for saying that I'm the lady that, you know, convinced you to stay," and they keep calling me old, and I'm like, well, despite that, did I do it right? Did I do what you said? Like, did I deliver? Have I done the right thing? Because the only reason I'm still here is because I made that promise to you. So, is everything okay? Have I fucked up? Am I in deep trouble right now? Like, this is the only person I'm answering to, if anyone. I've just been called to the principal's office, and she laughed, and she said she'd been following it online the entire time, and it was the most beautiful thing. And she felt that even though she lost a daughter, she had gained a whole world. In a way, she had gifted the world with something absolutely unimaginably beautiful, and her daughter would be so amazed and impressed by that. And I just kind of went, "I'm not quitting though." And she said, "Don't, unless you found someone better or you're dead." So she remembered. And well, I'm not dead, so obviously that tells you something. But I did, however, find someone who absolutely is better. His name's Ken Nwadike Jr. He has Free Hugs Project, and he has the ability to stand between opposing sides in a riot and calm them the hell down and stop the riot and make them hug each other.
Yeah.
I can't do that. That's someone better. I know when to put my hand up and go, all right, that's him. That's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the one.
Well, I mean,
That's
when you say better though, that goes like in every movement. A movement is nothing more than a pebble, like I said, that starts, and you don't decide where it moves. You just start the movement itself. You know, and I've seen his videos when he went to some of the place when the buildings were being burned down in Wisconsin or something. I believe he showed up there, and I thought, wow, so this man is going to those sites where Black Lives Matter had burned down the restaurant, and he's going and hugging the people whose places burned down, and almost acting as this ambassador to try to bring people together. It was really powerful. But as hard as it might be for you to take it, I'm going to reinforce it over and over again. These things only exist because you took a damn sign, and you took a sign, not only a physical sign, but a sign from a woman who joined you, and kind of made it so that you walk the journey. You took the journey.
Yeah. It is a cause and effect kind of thing. I know. I'm aware of it. It's just, you know, it's one of those things though that I think inevitably would have happened somewhere, somehow, some way. It would have forced itself into existence. It's just seems inevitable, you know. I don't know, maybe just. But
I think Andy wants to celebrate you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
I just take the path of least resistance and do what I do, and you know, I go wherever I'm asked to go, and I just try and make people feel better than they did before I left.
Like when you say you took the path of less resistance, I can imagine, like you did this every day, right?
Pretty much in the end, yeah.
So I can imagine there might have been days where you just did not want to get up out of bed, just because you also have a life and things are happening. Like, how did you navigate those days?
I still do. I always say it's Wednesday because I never know when the weekend is going to arrive, because I'm always doing something or working towards something, or I'm always supposed to be somewhere doing something. I enjoy it. I'm always happy that whenever I go somewhere or whatever I'm doing, the outcome is that other people are going to be happier or relieved or comforted or feel safe. Like the end outcome is always more positive than the state they were at beforehand. And I've been doing it since I was 22. I'm kind of just hug fit, I guess. I don't know if that's a fit thing. I'm not really, but it's just something you get accustomed to, I guess. I retired in a sense like a year ago. COVID made me unretire because I kind of felt 15 years of work just got undone by a virus that says you can't go near people. So I thought, well, I kind of haven't kept my promise now, have I? Yeah. Yeah, so about a year off, it's a bit difficult. It's another adjustment, but such is life, you know. Just have to roll with it and do what we do so that we can get the best out of what we've got.
Juan, what was your biggest discovery about yourself through placing yourself in those situations, like arms open and hugging all these people?
Oh, geez. About myself?
Actually, I want you to answer it whatever comes to you.
It's very interesting going out and hugging people, because when they, on a lot of instances, people give you their life lesson, you know, the thing they've learned through life, or they've learned thus far in life. And so in a day, you'll have lived so many lifetimes. You've learned so much about these life lessons. It's like you age rapidly in a day. You've got to go through and like sort these life lessons out and go, all right, so now I'm 4,782 and I've been out here for 4 months. That's one of the big things, like just learning from so many other people, from learning through their lives and what's worked and what hasn't worked, and then realizing that there's so much confliction between those things. Some people it works one way, some people it doesn't. And the other big thing that I've learned is that that sign and those 2 words, translate them into any damn language you want. Go to that country that speaks that language. It will work, no matter what. And that keeps shocking me and surprising me time after time after time. It doesn't fail. It just doesn't ever seem to fail. And I can't understand that. That's just beyond me. Like, there's got to be a point where there's some country or culture that just turns around and goes, yeah, nah, no hugs for us, mate. We're right.
Yeah.
Stand over there. But no. So far, no, not at all. I don't understand what they're saying, but they sure as hell love what I'm doing there. So that's been very fascinating. The world is so much smaller than you think. People are so much. Just because there are different languages doesn't mean that we feel differently about life. We just feel it in a different language. And that's it. We all have the same basic needs and fears and emotions and complexities. We just have them in different languages. That's really it. I mean, the criteria defines us, or we are defined by, that all happens in different languages, but the basic needs don't change.
I've got
those 2 words in.
I've got 2 different. I'm very forgetful, so I have 2 thoughts, and I'm trying to think which one to bring forward. And then I realized that by the time I figured out which one, I've forgotten both of them.
15 years have gone by.
The thing I found the thing I found really interesting about hugs is that especially as I've become more sensitive, and it was hard for me to receive a hug because there was a lot of pain associated with loss for me. It was, my mom was killed by a drunk driver, and I didn't really get affection from my father. So in receiving a hug, what I had to also accept was that the thing that I utilized for that love was gone. So it was almost tied to the loss very much. And what I've seen is I've become more at peace with giving love and kind of that unconditional love. I've also seen where other people are held. So when I was watching the video, like, I'm laughingly watching each character and the way they hug, and sort of saying, oh, that's where they are in their ability to give and receive love at that moment in their lives. So
Sorry.
We didn't catch that. Can you say that again?
Sorry, where you see that moment of hesitation in them, and then it snaps, and they're just forced backwards to return to someone with a sign. Yeah.
Yeah, or like with the younger kids with the skateboards, so they'd sort of jump into the hug, almost doing things so that they wouldn't necessarily need to make it as vulnerable as it might be.
Yeah, actually, that was quite choreographed.
Yeah, I can imagine, of course.
I was just walking past, and they saw me, and they ran over to me, and we had the camera there, and it was like, well, can we do something? This space looks pretty cool. And they're like, yeah, I could do this. And so there were a few of them that did some tricks and things, and that was just the one that looked
my favorite
in the end.
My favorite in the video. My favorite in the video is the guy in the suit who walks past you, looks with a question mark in his head, and then comes towards you. That one makes me laugh every time.
In the beginning, right?
If you look a little closer, he's a former multi-Jeopardy winning champion.
Really?
I don't remember his name. I do know that he is, but I don't remember his name. Yeah.
That's funny, because he's very fine in his movement. Like, it's almost like he's thoughtful. I'm making a decision. I'm making a certain decision at this moment that I'm going to take this act, which I thought was so beautifully, act
it's
it
a
out.
very rational decision that he kind of like snaps and then turns to the decision making. You know,
Yes.
it's and then
Yeah.
when I found out he was a champion, it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Does make sense, doesn't
He's
it?
calculating the variables here,
Okay.
and he's
What's the
thought
chance I get a
logically.
disease?
Yeah. will I be raped today if I hug this man?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
that was the council's issue.
That segued to the, well, we can go to the council, but what segues to my next question, which I thought was really interesting for me at least, is were there uncomfortable hugs?
You mean like hugs that went forever, or
No,
hugs that were
like
completely
people that may have like tried to take advantage of the situation or maybe grabbed your butt. I don't know, like anything that was like where you felt like, oh, this person. We didn't catch that.
Quite. Groping happened. That was that's an unfortunate side effect. I hope it doesn't happen to many people out there who hold free hug signs. But yeah, I remember the first time it happened to me, and it wasn't the kind of person you would have expected. It was a 60-year-old lady with just a gray streak in her hair, and she hugged me, and then she held my arm, and she put her hand on my chest and said, "You're a lovely man," and she patted my heart. And then she ran a hand down my chest and my waist and said, "You have so much wonderfulness in you, young man." And then she cupped me, and I froze completely, like, and she got a full handful, and then she smiled and went, "And one hell of a man, I must say. Good day, sir." And then she left, and I went to the bathroom and cried. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Really, and it made me think, like, for all those poor young women who have dressed because they like the outfit and they want to go out and have a nice night out with their friends, some asshole has just gone and groped them because, oh, they dressed that way, they were asking for it. I held up a sign that said "free hugs," not "free grab my nuts," and yet that ain't right. So there's something still endemically wrong in not endemically wrong, I guess. Maybe that's just part of people that is there in people. And yeah, because it still happens, and it's never the ones you think.
Yeah, that's curious, right? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think what's interesting, we'll often talk about this on air a lot, is that there's the sexual urge, right? The sexual drive, and then the consciousness of that drive. Because the drive itself shouldn't be judged as a positive or negative. It just is. And yet, if you're not conscious and aware of it, then it bleeds out like in this way you've just described, which is where it's such a shame, because in society, and that's what I imagine, I don't know what we call them, they weren't the police, I guess, that's wanted to stop your free hugs project, but at that time they said, "Hey, you need to get your insurance," of course.
Yeah, that was the council. There was me and like a dozen other people with signs every week by that point, and it was bothering a local store manager. That was really it. It was just bothering one store owner, and he complained to the council, and the council came out and banned me and said, "You've got to get a permit that has $25 million worth of public liability insurance, and that's going to cost many thousands of dollars." And I'm like, wow. How am I going to get that from free? That doesn't make
exactly
sense. Or something. I'm like,
wow,
that's not free either.
Yeah, we don't want to turn it to paid hugs.
No. So I went back to Bankstown, to my home council, and went, "Hey, if I wanted to offer free hugs in Bankstown, do I need a permit?" And the guy behind the council went, "You need a bulletproof vest, or maybe a knife-proof vest. You need your head checked."
Yeah.
I'm like, "So no, there's nothing stopping you." Like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, great. well, the city of Sydney is stopping. He's like, oh, those, I won't say that out loud. All right, here's how you piss them off. A petition. Councils hate petitions. Gets $2.4 million worth of work done around here. So I'm like, 10,000 signatures. He's like, yeah, that'll really piss him off. I'm like, can I do it here in Bankstown today? He's like, yeah, go for it. I'll let the local police know that you're running around, so no one, you know,
Wow.
causes any trouble. I'm like, all right, and
Wow.
that was it.
See, that's just beautiful. Like the beauty is, if they're gonna go for it, like I'm always feeling in life, like as soon as someone messes with me, and I know I'm gonna win in the end, I just don't know how, then they don't know what they've got themselves into. It's almost like, guys, I know you think you're gonna win, but I'm so determined to make this happen. It's gonna happen whether you like it or not in some shape and form. So get over it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd made a promise. You know, I had to keep my word, and that was
beautiful.
until I was dead or I found something better. So that meant at any cost I was going to fight for this damn thing.
Yeah.
And nothing was going to stop me until I got back to where I belonged, as I believed, in Pitt Street, where the most amount of people in Sydney would ever, you know, be, whether it be tourists, locals, or just anyone. That was the spot. So I wanted to make sure it was not stopped, because I'd known by that point just how much of an impact it had on people's lives, and I wasn't going to let that be taken away. There wasn't an alternative structure or replacement for it. So,
have you got anything on you? I've got another few, so I hold back to let you jump in.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, here in Amsterdam, we have an act which came out through the corona, and it's a guy dressed up. You know the Michelin tire symbol, the white guy, like that character. The guy's dressed up like that, and he has like a helmet on with a glass. So every person he hugs, someone comes and sprays him down, cleans him, and then he gets the next hug. It's like a performance. It's like a theater performance. Like that's what we've come to over here. So
I love it.
So just being here, I kind of realized you have influenced potentially that too.
It was supposed to be 1 hour. Seriously, just 1 hour.
How is it? I have a question for you. How crazy is it when you think there's 78 million some odd views of that video? Like it's a massive, when we were talking about percentages of populations of countries, or more than the entire population of the Netherlands, you know, a few times over.
I remember the day it hit the population of Australia, and I was like, oh shit, this is too much. Where am I going to hide now?
I mean, you even went to Oprah. I mean, you went on to Oprah, right?
And that's 880 million views worldwide. That's
when you went to Oprah, I mean, that must have been a pretty surreal experience. You're going from 1 hour of doing this a day to then going to Oprah Winfrey's, you know, whatever, her little show.
It was every Thursday for the whole day, every week. And I was just washing dishes in a cafe, living life, having the best time of it. Everything was sweet. I loved it. It was just the most beautiful little existence. Like, so much love and so much happiness and so much joy in it all. It was great. And then the video hit YouTube, and it was like, oh shit, now I have to tell my girlfriend I do this, because I just tell her that on Thursday. She didn't know.
Your girlfriend didn't know you were doing this before the video went viral.
No, we got together, started, and she'd moved in with me, so I just kind of hid the signs away and put the jacket in a different cupboard she would go to. And when she went to work on a Thursday morning, and she'd work back Thursday nights, so convenient. As soon as she got in the car and it had start to go, I'd jump in the shower, get washed, get my clothes on, get a sign out, get the jacket on, run to the train station, get on the train, get down to the city, get in a spot, get to work. Well, it's not really work, it was just get to it, have fun, look at the clock, keep an eye, make sure I got back to the house in time, get home, change everything, have another shower, and then fire up a video game.
You're living a double life, actually.
I was, and that when I first saw the video, because the day of my grandmother's funeral, because Shim from the Sick Puppies had made it and sent it to me, and on it he'd written, "This is who you are," because I'd not really been able to go out and offer free hugs. I was looking after my grandfather while my grandmother was in hospital, and I cried. I cried so hard. And my girlfriend turned to me and went, "I didn't know you made another short film." And I'm like, worst day. Now it's going to get worse. All right. Rip off the Band-Aid. So I went and got the jacket, and I went and got a couple of signs, and I went, "So when you go to work on Thursdays, this is what I go and do." And she said nothing. And then she just got up and started packing. And I quietly walked into the room and said, "What are you doing?" And she just said, "What you're doing is wonderful, but I can't ever trust you. If you're hiding something amazing like that, how am I ever going to know when something bad is there?" Ooh. And I just kind of hung my head and went, "Well, damn it. That's true. I lost that round." And yeah, I lost that round. That sucked. And then next week I was on Oprah. So it was like, yeah, life just changed immediately overnight. It went from a beautiful little small world to a wonderfully larger world. And yeah.
And what was the reason that you didn't feel comfortable sharing it with her?
You don't really go around telling people you're putting money in charity buckets and, "Oh, by the way, did you know I donate $30 a month to Amnesty International or whatever charity you do?" No one does that. I mean, I think we should. Should is a bad word, but there's nothing wrong with being open about being charitable and kind towards humanity, really. I don't know. I think it was something that I just kept for me at that point, because I still could keep it for me. And I didn't feel like it was necessary, but it was a double life, because even the people that I was seeing who were joining me every Thursday, because this was after, the whole petition had been fought and won and everything, they didn't know anything about the rest of my life.
Wow.
So they only on Thursday and knew nothing about anything of my world the other 6 days of the week.
Wow.
So
can you imagine that? And then to switch to like going from that to Oprah Winfrey. I mean, that's got to be like the biggest mind fuck. Like you've just gone from holding the sign up to, all of the sensationalized whatever they do in America to even amplify the sentiment, to make it even more whatever it was, right?
Yeah. Well, it was a choice. I could have stayed home and let the band deal with it, but they would have sent their message, which is buy our new album. Or I could have gone along and set the right message, which is, it's not about me, it's about the idea, and spreading this idea and keeping this idea just as it is. Don't worry about me too much.
did you feel that that you could sort of manage that transition in a way that you it's, I mean, from just being with you, you appear to be like almost even getting you on the show. It was like I sent you the first letter. It was almost like I had the feeling you haven't looked at Facebook for like 2 years, sort of thing. It was like it was almost like, Andy, even like now your mic setup isn't, we haven't got a strong mic, someone's like, whatever is there, it's just fine. I'm not going to sweat it. I don't have any idea of what things should be in my life in a way. That's at least the impression I have of you.
That's pretty much how it is at the moment. It's like, all right, what do I need to be around at this point in time? How do I need to be? I'm not COVID prepared like everyone else is in terms of technology. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And you, so you said, I'm curious from now, because it would be nice to, it's in some ways, like I mentioned earlier, this is 15 some odd years ago. So right now in your life, I mean, where are you? Is this, I mean, we've talked about this, the whole free hugs, but that could be such a distant memory in some ways. You could say, no, Andy, right now, this is what I'm occupied with, has nothing to do with anything we just discussed the last 50 or some odd minutes. So where are you actually right now in your life?
Working on the last 15 years of it. You'll just have to wait and see. Yeah.
Do you say that?
But there's some.
Do you see that free? Is it? Do you feel like you'd move into some other movement, or would it be always associated with free hugs to some degree?
Free hugs will always be its own thing.
Okay.
I just took the first breath that everyone's. It always will be. Free hugs will always be a part of my life. There's no way I can ever get rid of it. I can't. I tried, and it hurt. It just hurt.
Wow.
Like, it's a part of me. To ignore 15 years of life and try and act as if it didn't happen, or file it away and be like, yep, very good, thank you very much, moving on. It doesn't work like that. It's just so much a part of my attitudes and values and my DNA now. Like, no matter what I do next, it's always going to be based on the lessons and the values and the people that I've met and learned from over the years. It's always going to be guided by that and led by that. If it's nothing in the end, whatever I do or try, it's always going to be one of those values, because that's what I've learned is sort of right, I guess, for me. But that's been my journey. Everyone else is different, and it's easy to have a journey like that. Just put 2 words on a shirt or a sign and don't get infected.
Yeah.
That's the hard part these days.
And do people sort of, as curiosity, because you've gone by your synonym, Juan Mann, is it the case that people, a lot of people won't even know your real name, but just call you Juan?
Most people just call me Juan. Yeah. I have from just 15 years now. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, everyone quickly switched to calling me Juan. The only people that don't are girlfriends, but ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll of course. Call me by they'll call me by my name, or asshole.
Yeah.
That's the one they end up on somewhere.
My mom used my full name is Andrew, and my mom would, like, the only one who would over call me Andrew was my mom when she was angry at me, so like, yeah.
It's a bit like that. So that's it. A lot of my ex-girlfriends are actually still my best friends. They're the ones I turn to for the good advice, because, well, they were smart enough to kick me to the curb. So I trust them to have some good wisdom about what the hell I'm doing wrong. So they had strong opinions in the first place. I'll trust their opinions this time around.
Yep. Nothing better than an old
Yeah.
girlfriend to help you find your shadow side, of course. Oh.
Yeah. And nothing like a new girlfriend to hate the old girlfriends for as friends. That just never done well, but
Oh, I love it.
I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. One girlfriend at a time.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're coming up to our hour right now. And yeah, I just want to share my gratitude that you came on with us. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on, Andy and Bombos. It's been beautiful talking to you guys. It's yeah, different type of conversation. It's been nice.
Yeah,
My life literally since that first hour, as your show says, a wonderful chaos.
yeah,
I
it
have
is a
never known
wonderful
what's
chaos.
coming next.
Yep,
Just
that's the
follow
way.
whatever. And
That's
let
the
it
way we like it.
be. Like sometimes that's the best thing with things like free hugs. You just let it be. You don't have any intention for it. You just know that it's good and you let it go.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Don't overthink it. That's the point. Just a hug is enough.
No, don't. Let it be and let it be its own thing, and don't choke it to death with yourself.
Mm. So thank you. Now we're going to talk about you off air so that you can't defend yourself.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you, Juan.
Adios.
Ciao. Bye. So now you understand why I was so excited to have Juan on? Yeah. I see this pattern over and over again where things happen, circumstances change, and then people rise up to their best occasions, and then that redefines their lives. And I'll do it. I know you're always telling me, and everyone's looking at my red hat all the time or whatever I've got on. And for me, I actually, it's strange. I didn't really know Juan's story, but after hearing it, it's what I would have expected. So somebody who basically followed an intuition, let it unfold, and then it became something greater than himself. And it's obvious that every time we try to shower any adoration, or at least I do, that it was never the idea. So him, not unlike myself, is going to have a hard time maybe accepting the role they've had in other people's lives and all of that. But I think that's part of why you do it. You do it not because you want the recognition. You do it because you want to see that you left the world a better place than when you came into it. And there's a beauty in that. That's just, I just think that's a life worth living. So it's incredible to have these guests on that we've had on so recently, where you see each one following their intuition and just making beautiful things. And this is just another one of those instances.
And not knowing.
Not knowing. That's the beauty. I mean, when we call it a wonderful chaos, it really is. That's what it is. It's people just going into the world, not really knowing what it's all going to happen. And then all of a sudden it just turns out to be wonderful. Unplanned wonder. Yeah.
So thank you, guys. Have a beautiful weekend.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was a great show, and we'll see you. I'll come up with a playlist next week.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you on A Wonderful Chaos. Thank you.